evening, Northern Colorado. This is Ron, K0AZA. I'm located in Fort Collins, and I'll be net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the TechNet is to enlighten amateur radio operators on topics of a technical nature. We'll do our best to answer any technical questions for the benefit of all those who are listening. If there's a subject that's never been made quite clear to you, this is a great opportunity to find an answer. If anyone feels they have information that will help regarding that subject, please give your call sign and net control will call on you. This net may be interrupted at any time for emergencies or priority traffic. If you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We'll acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you're clear. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net, and NCARC club membership is encouraged but never required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation, and no check-out is required. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet along with your name and location. When checking in, please state if you have a topic you'd like to discuss. Check-ins will be taken in groups of 3. When I've acknowledged the first group of 3, I'll then move on to the next group. I'll start by taking check-ins from Echolink. Anyone on Echolink, please call now. Hearing none, let's take check-ins from call suffixes alpha through Mike. Alpha through Mike, please call now.
Good evening, Ron. This is W0KJM Whiskey 0 Kilo Juliet Mike. Kyle in Fort Collins, and I might have a question for tonight's net.
Whiskey 0 Lima Echo India W0LEI Chad and Stout.
This is WR0AD Whiskey Romeo 0 Alpha Delta Chris in Severance.
Okay, let's hold up there. The net would like to acknowledge W0KJM, W0LEI, and WR0AD. Next group of 3, go now.
This is AE0CF Alpha Echo 0 Charlie Foxtrot Bud Fort Collins.
WA9FBO Whiskey Alpha 9 Foxtrot Bravo Oscar Bob Laporte.
N0BNK November 0 Bravo November Kilo Rick in Laporte.
Okay, the net acknowledges AE0CF, WA9FBO, and N0BNK. Next group of 3, go now.
This is N0EMP, November 0 Echo Mike Papa with Debbie, K0DBE, Kilo 0 Delta Bravo Echo.
The net acknowledges N0EMP and K0DBE. Let's go ahead and open it up to all call suffixes alpha through Zulu. Go now.
This is Keith. This is KD0TYU, Kilo Delta 0 Tango Yankee Uniform Joe here in Loveland, and I do have a topic for this evening.
This is KB0YDN Kilo Bravo 0 Yankee Delta November Pinewood Lake.
This is WB5TEX Whiskey Bravo 5 Tango Echo X-Ray Dale Loveland, no traffic.
Okay, the net acknowledges KD0TYU, KB0YDN, and WB5TEX. Next group of 3, go now.
Ron, K0HAK, Kilo 0 Hotel Alpha Kilo, Dave in Fort Collins.
This is N0 NYY November 0 November Yankee Bart in Evans. I am with N0 QXQ November 0 Quebec X-Ray Quebec Jean Juliet Echo Alpha November. Good evening to the net.
The net acknowledges K0HAK, N0NYY, and N0QXQ. And I may have stepped on somebody the last time I transmitted. If I doubled with someone doubling station, please go now.
And this is KF0 ODD.
Thanks, Paul. I gotcha. Next group of 3, call now.
This is Kilo Bravo 0 Oscar Lima Echo, Dave in Loveland, with a question, although it might be the same as Joe's.
W5VV, Whiskey 5, Victor, Bill in Livermore.
KF0 SFW, Dustin Milliken.
Yeah, let's hold up there. Dave, I got KB0 and I didn't get the light year suffix. Can you come back with that, please?
That is KB0 OLE, Oscar Lima Echo.
Got it. I've got W5 Victor, and I believe the last one was KF0 SFW. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thanks. Next group of 3, call now.
This is KF0SGS, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Sierra, Golf Sierra, Ryan in Loveland.
This is W1VAN, Whiskey 1 Victor, Alpha November, Fort Collins, checking in.
KF0 SKC, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Sierra Kilo Charlie, Matthew in Loveland.
This is AF7MO, Alpha Foxtrot 7, Mike Oscar Roger, Windsor.
Okay, let's hold up there. The last station that called in, I believe it was KF7MO. Can you come back and confirm that in your name? Your audio was a little bit low.
This is Alpha Foxtrot 7, Mike Oscar Roger in Windsor. Alpha Foxtrot 7, Mike Oscar.
Thanks, Roger. I got it that time. So that acknowledges AF7MO, KF0SGS, W1VAN, and KF0SKC. Anybody else? Call now. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on with the net. I'll circle back around and take late check-ins in a bit. Kyle, W0KJM, you said you possibly had a topic. Do you still, or shall I move on to the next one?
I do. My question was, so I have a couple of mesh-tastic devices, and I have a friend who may or may not be in Evans, and their call sign may or may not be N0NYY. And we are trying to get a message from Fort Collins all the way to Evans and vice versa through mesh-tastic. So I was wondering if anybody has experience with mesh-tastic and if they were able to actually have a QSO over a fairly long distance with mesh-tastic. Because so far, the only success I've had has been across the table at a ham lunch. So I was wondering if anybody had any more experience.
Anybody use mesh-tastic that can help out Kyle and Bart? No, Kyle, it sounds like you guys may be the pathfinders here.
All righty, well, we'll keep on digging and seeing what we can find, and I guess we'll come back with results when we've got them. Thank you so much, Ron. W0KJM, back to net.
ODD comment.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yep, Kyle, you may want to check in with David, WD0HDR. Look him up if you don't have his contact information. He's been dealing with mesh-tastic in a while, and he's kind of like my digital guru right now. So he may have some information for you. KF0ODD.
Yeah, awesome. That was going to be the next place I was going to go seek more wisdom. I know the Wars community has a Discord with their, they have a channel in there specifically for mesh-tastic stuff, so I might go dig around there. But I figured it's TechNet. There might be someone over here that knew or had some answers, so figured I'd give it a go. Well, thanks for letting me try. W0KJM, back to net.
Anybody else have anything for Kyle before we move on? Okay, moving on then. Joe, KD0TYU, you are next.
Thanks, Ron. I'm going to defer to Dave. He's got his radio working, and it's actually his question. So I'll pass this to Dave.
Dave, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening. I moved back up to Loveland here. I moved to Loveland about 2 years ago. I'm rebooting my radio hobby. Tonight I'm talking to you on a 30-year-old handheld that I bought at HRO in 1994. I'm kind of impressed it still works. But in honor of Cyber Monday and deals on hardware out there, I'm kind of curious about what are the current handheld features that are important to have in this day and age, digital modes, APRS, that sort of thing. What digital modes are in use? Because it seems like when you buy a radio, you kind of lock into that digital mode. KB0, OLE.
Well, we have Mr. Digital with us tonight. Ivan, would you be interested in addressing that one with Dave?
Well, sure, I'll take a crack at it. I would recommend Yaesu, the Yaesu line of HTs or mobile radios as their VFO type of front panel operating, and it gets you on the digital modes. Have very nice repeaters to the east of you and up on Horsetooth there, and I think there's even one up on Milder, so the place is very saturated. Even the old OJ machine is now a Fusion machine, so Fusion is quite popular in the area. The radios are a little more spendy than the DMR radios. DMR cheap Chinese radios can be had for under $100. And we have two beautiful DMR machines also up on Horsetooth, and really LaSalle, Denver area, even the Rocky Mountain Ham Group is DMR. But your choices of how fat your wallet might be as to what you get into. The DMR is a little harder to understand than Fusion.
All right, thank you. Is D-Star in much use around here? I spoke to a number down in Longmont, and he had been doing a lot of D-Star, but made some comments suggesting that maybe it's on its way out, losing popularity.
Yeah, I would have to agree with losing popularity. That there is, I believe, a repeater in Denver area, maybe on Green Mountain, that is still D-Star. But in this local area, the only way to do D-Star is off of what they call a hotspot. So that's your own personal digital access to the off your desktop there.
All right, thank you. How about APRS? How useful or important is it to have a GPS receiver in your handheld and the ability to do APRS protocols?
Well, don't forget the digital radios. They are analog also, so you don't lose out on anything analog with a digital radio. That they're all both included there. APRS can be done through the DMR machine and show up on the map, or through analog you can get into NCARC's iGate, I think they call it, W1VAN.
All right, thank you very much. That definitely helps guide my eye towards future purchases. KB0LE, back to that.
KJM comment.
Go ahead, Kyle.
W0KJM. As far as how important is APRS, it's not the most important thing. You can absolutely get by without it. It depends on what all it is you're trying to do. I know it is extremely helpful sometimes, especially for some of those marathon events, being able to track and coordinate where certain assets are. As far as just using it in day-to-day normal life, I typically don't find myself using it often because I don't want everybody and anybody knowing exactly where I am at all moments of the day. But it is sometimes handy if you're trying to meet up with another ham, being able to just both have both stations turn on APRS and be able to track each other. There are some other cool features like packet stuff, like you can send text messages through APRS and emails, if those iGates still allow that, which I'm not sure. I haven't done that in a while. I know you used to be able to. You probably still can, but as far as usefulness, I don't find myself using it daily. The most time that I find myself using it is during those events. So I hope that helps a little bit. And, back to net, W0KAJM.
Thanks, Kyle. Dave, I give you my 2 cents worth. I typically use 3 HTs. I have a Yaesu FT70D, which gives me the dual mode analog plus fusion, a Anytone 878, which gives me the DMR, again the analog, and the 878 has APRS, so that's my APRS radio. 90% of the time, if I'm not working an event and I have an HT with me, it's typically my TID radio H3 or an Anytone, spit it out, Ron, a Radioddity, something cheap. And the main reason I carry those ones is because if I drop them, I don't care. But if it's an event or a period that I actually need to make sure the radio works, it's either the FT70D and or the Anytone 878. Let me do a reset. I've got one other thing to throw out on that. Anytone just came out with a new DMR radio. It's the 168. I haven't dug into it. Maybe somebody else on the net might know more details. My understanding is it's pretty close to the 878, but it doesn't have Bluetooth. So if you care to speak with your blue teeth, then you need an 878. If you don't use it, then the newer 168 might do the trick. That's about all I had for it, and since I haven't done it in a while, this is K0AZA, net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. Any other comments on HTs for Dave?
K0TYU.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Dave, I think everybody here has pretty much summed this up pretty well. APRS, I've got 3 radios that does it, and I've used it once. I'm with Kyle on this. It's not something you're going to use. And the only reason that I would use it is that Skywarn, if you're familiar with that, we go out and search on storms and things like that. It's a good thing for the net control to see where you're at compared to the storm. Must be obvious. And let them know what's going on. And there's a couple places where we've done different events, but it has to be kind of more of a specialized thing. I'll let this drop for a second. I've got an 868, an older version of an 868. They came out with the 868 and 878, and the 868 was like $150 less, so I bought it. It's a really good radio. Anytone really kind of surprised me for a Chinese radio. It's a really good radio, and the 78 is pretty up there for price and stuff like that. But the DMR is probably more popular than Fusion, even though I do agree with Ivan. We've got different places around here, but it just seems like DMR is what everybody else has got. Aries has went to DMR only because of the Rocky Mountain AM backbone that we're actually a part of as far as NCARC goes. But that's pretty much all I've got. I do agree with everybody here. So, K0TYU, back to net.
Comment.
Go ahead, comment.
W0KJM, just for the sake of making absolutely certain that this horse is beaten to death, when it comes to selection of purchasing an HT, if you're looking at whether one has built-in APRS, I wouldn't necessarily count that as a deal breaker, because any radio you get, for the most part, I'm sure there's probably an exception to every rule, but just about any radio you get, you can add a terminal node controller of some kind, like for example the DigiRig Lite, and then plug that into either a computer or a phone or some other device that is also GPS capable, and boom, you've got APRS capability that you can add to almost any radio. W0KJM.
WR0AD with comment.
Go ahead, WR0AD.
I just want to go ahead and throw my hat in the ring here as well that I've got an ICOM ID50 as well, and I've got an ID52 Plus. So they're nice to have for digital modes, but one pretty awesome accessory that we've had around here is we have that Shark RF OpenSpot 3, and now we've got an OpenSpot 4 Pro coming in. So you can just hook that up through your hotspot, hook it up to your Wi-Fi, and then you can get direct access to like reflectors. You can do digital modes on there pretty seamlessly. And another huge bonus is you can just run it off the hotspot on your phone if you want to do that. So you have constant access on your digital radio. And then I also have an ID 5100 in my truck that does the same thing, so I can run that and use the reflectors off of that hotspot in my vehicle. So that's pretty cool to have that running around for digital mode as a little backup.
Yeah, that's a good point and a good tool. Thank you for that, Chris. Anybody else?
W1VAM.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, speaking of the D-Star, that's what we have pretty much built the XLX 303 reflector off of. Even though it's Fusion and DMR mixed modes, what we do in Colorado Digital there is bring all the different type of radios. So say Joe, he has a DMR radio. Fred, he has a Fusion radio. Well, you have a D-Star radio. We have a way to bring them all together so that they'll talk together. So just because you have a said certain radio doesn't mean you don't get to talk to the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ivan. And there is another repeater network in the state that also does a lot of that kind of digital agnostic, I guess you'd say. Anybody else? Okay, well, maybe we did beat that one to a pulp. Moving on, this is K0AZA, net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. There's any late check-ins, let's go ahead and take those now. Late check-ins, call in now.
0YYU.
Station calling on Mr. Call Sign. Could you come back, please? Were you just checking in, or did you have a topic? Okay, let's move on. Are there any other comments, questions, or other discussion this evening? Hearing none, this concludes the NCARC TechNet. Net Control would like to thank each station for their participation. We had a good discussion tonight. We had a total of 23 check-ins tonight. This net will occur again next Monday at the same time on this repeater. This is K0AZA, closing the net at 1832 and returning the repeater to normal operation. 73, and good night, everyone.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.